Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to episode one of the new limited series called Xbox One-on-One. And of course, I am here with my co-host, with the co-most. You know him as Zemi Games, but he's also transitioning over to the Constant Gamer. You can check out his website at constantgamer.com. You can take a couple of quizzes we got up over there. One of them I wrote. If you're a Resident Evil fan, I think you will appreciate it. Zemi, of course, did the one for, I believe it was Skyrim. Zemi, welcome to the program and thanks for joining on this new venture.
Well, thank you for having me, man. Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. You're launching this new show on Tuesday, the one-on-one, and I'm really excited to be a part of it and jump into some amazing gaming topics, man. It's honestly, it's the highlight of my week, being able to hop on these podcasts with you and just talk gaming, man.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, listen, obviously this Xbox 101, not 101, one on one, is a new limited series covering everything Xbox. Now, why this is going to be a little different than the Xbox Factor podcast on Thursday is because there's going to be no guests, no developers, just two dudes hanging out talking about Xbox and what we're going to do to make this a little different. See, because everyone who watches podcasts, there's a familiar format pretty much with all of the work that the game, the Constant Gamer does and I do, as well as so many other content creators. And we kind of wanted to do something a little different. And with 2021 being an incredible year for Xbox, we are going to be talking each and every week about two particular titles. And I say two, it could potentially be three, but because the program is only meant for a nice, strong, solid 60-minute show, we were thinking that we're going to be covering some of the bigger and smaller titles releasing for the Xbox in 2021. And that includes, of course, AAA bombs all the way through single man developed indie titles. But today, how we're going to work it is Xbox Wire dropped an incredible article last week, and it literally happened right after we went live with the Xbox Factor podcast. And I always wanted to add an additional Xbox show, and we were doing that, during the first outbreak of COVID. Obviously to not only calm people's fears, but to give people something to listen to. And of course, last year for Xbox was a big year with two consoles, and of course, the near worldwide launch of the Project X Cloud, as well as some big games. And I wanted to keep pushing the Xbox envelope a little further. And it's obviously, for both Zemi and I, it is our favorite brand. It's where we play the most. And obviously, a second show was something that we were thinking could work with the community. Now, folks, I say that this is a limited show simply because I want to make sure that there's an audience. So if you are digging this, if this is something that you find interesting, it's something that you want to support, there are a couple of ways you can help us grow this new show. The first is obviously very simple. You hit the like button, that little one thumbs up button. You hit that, and we can get this show moving into the deep waters of the YouTube algorithm. The second way to do that is to help push the content. Retweet this when I put it out there, copy and paste, and let people know that we are live. Obviously, some of the biggest help that we get is not just from Zemi and I pushing the show; it's from you guys and gals pushing the show. But I do, Zemi, want to get into topic number one, as we are already 5 minutes into the show. And of course, I want to say welcome to everyone that is here supporting this new venture. And I believe we have a lot to talk about in the next couple of months regarding Xbox. But let's get to topic number one. Now, for the opening topic, folks, we're going to break down all of the titles confirmed by an Xbox Wire article that posted last week. Now, based on this list, diversity is going to be a word used quite often, and one of the reasons why Xbox will in fact be the best place to play in 2021. Now, the Xbox Wire article was written by Will Tuttle, who is the Xbox Wire editor-in-chief, and he is someone that's been with the company for a while. And here's just a few quotes. from the lengthy article, and he says this: 2021 will be a fantastic year to be an Xbox fan. The Xbox Series X and Series S have launched, so we are officially going full steam ahead into the next generation of gaming. Catch you later, 2020. Of course, no matter the year, it's always about the games. And in 2021, creators around the world will tap deeper into the power of the Xbox Series X and S and bring a massive variety of content to Xbox players. We anticipate this to be the most exciting generation yet for developers and players alike, with some for every kind of gamer. Now, while we have so much more in store, but from our talented partners and our creative teams at Microsoft, we figured that now would be the perfect time to take a closer look at the announced games that we are launching as console exclusives on the Xbox Series X, Series S, and Xbox One in 2021. Now, listen, folks, this is going to be a long list. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try and break this down. So obviously, I want to get Zemi's opinion on this. So we're going to break it down into small sections of the games, and we're going to talk about the individual games as we go along. So, Zemi, to start this off, we have a game called Adios, which is a cinematic first-person game where it has you deciding on how to deal with the mafia who has been using your pigs to dispose of bodies. Sounds interesting, a little weird to be honest with you, but I think it's going to be a story-based first-person type of game. We also have the Artful Escape, which is, of course, tells the story of the protagonist's name is Francis, as he embarks on a multi-dimensional journey to create his stage persona. Again, maybe not a game for me personally, but certainly will find an audience. Now, this is the big one, Zemi, The Ascent. This is obviously something that you and I talked about on the Xbox Factor podcast in great detail. This is a game that's in the cyberpunk world. I know you're happy about that. Developed by Neon Giant and published by Curve Digital. Let's start with these little three ones. And obviously the highlight of the conversation is The Ascent, which we don't have a release date yet, but we do hear that it might be releasing mid 2021. How excited are you for that particular game?
For The Ascent, I'm going to be honest with you. For me personally, I actually think Adios is a game that is more is more directed towards me as a player.
Right.
I know that you are really, really excited about The Ascent, and I respect that. The game looks phenomenal. And everything like that. I'm just not really sold on the gameplay. But Adios, being a pig farmer, trying to get out of the business of disposing bodies for the mob, that just the premise of that game just sounds comical and just honestly just really just right down my road. I'm not super huge into The Ascent. It might be one of those games that the more I see from it, the more I get interested. But so far from what I have seen, it's just not it's not on my list of games I'm looking to play this year. There's a lot of them that are, on this list, but that's just particularly not one of them that's really grabbing my attention.
I mean, listen, and I get it. Again, it's a top-down twin-stick shooter in the veins of something like Diablo, right? Mm-hmm. And it is in the cyberpunk universe, confirmed. That to me has me hyped beyond hype. It was supposed to be a launch title for the Series X in November. Unfortunately, due to COVID restraints, they had to delay it. But I'm happy with that because, again, a bad game is always going to be a bad game, but a delay game obviously has a chance to be a great game, and I'm okay with that. And the Artful Escape that also is a little interesting. Again, it could be an artsy type of game. I know that you like those types of titles.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna have to see more on that game. I'm not even sure if I've actually seen gameplay of that game. Some of them on this list I haven't, and there's a lot of games that we're gonna be talking about here, and the next hour. But yeah, that game definitely sounds very, very interesting. I kind of like the idea of a struggling artist going through like multi-dimensional, I guess universes or whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, absolutely. That game does seem a little bit more up my alley, just story wise, from what I read about it as well. I think a lot of that game for me is going to be ultimately the gameplay, and I'm not sure if that what exactly that game is. If it's a platformer, I'm not 100% sure because like I said, I haven't researched all of these games. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, obviously, some of them are new
yeah.
IPs from small developers that we may or may not have heard of. I am going to say though, there are a lot of games on this particular list. Let's move on to the next three. Now, they
Mhm.
have something called the Big Con, and apparently, you play as a character called Ali, a high school junior gone AWOL from band camp, seeking revenge on the loan sharks that threaten her mom's video store. Again, it seems a smaller title,
Mhm.
definitely one that is intriguing in the fact where it seems like it's going to be telling a very personal story, but it also
Mhm.
sounds hilarious. The next one is a big one, and this is of course Crossfire X, and obviously this is an already established IP, but through the Series X and S exclusive name tag, it's getting its own single player campaign. It's being developed by Remedy Games, and that's a big deal because Remedy does know how to tell a story. Now, the next one is something I don't know if you'd be interested in because you didn't, the Ascent didn't jump off the page for you, but it's something called Dead Static Drive. And apparently, the description says this: grab your bat, steal a car, and take your chances against the unearthly horrors found along Route 666. It's a top down driving meets survival horror type of title. Again, very interesting, very different, but one that I think is going to resonate with people who like the top down look. What about these three? What does any of them jump off the page for you personally?
Dead Static Drive. There's no way I'm gonna probably ever play that game. It violates two things that it really shouldn't if it wants me to play that game. I'm not the biggest fan of asymmetric points of view for gaming. That's a big thing for the Ascent that kind of has me not really wanting to really play it. But then also it's horror, and I think everyone knows how I feel about scary games. The Big Con, that one does have me kind of interested because it's kind of quirky. It seems like it has a pretty strong narrative, is a strong focus for the game. And it it kind of reminds me of Adios, right? With the pig farmer. It's kind of lighthearted, quirky. I kind of like the premise of that game. Crossfire X, I did play the beta alpha, whatever it was that came out, I think last year for multiplayer. I wasn't the biggest fan of it for multiplayer. I actually, and this might be kind of mean to say, I kind of, whenever I played it, it just felt like a budget Call of Duty to me. Crossfire X's multiplayer did. But I'm actually really, really excited about the story mode for that game because it is being made by Remedy, who I absolutely loved Quantum Break. Never played Alan Wake, never played Control. Both those games looked way too scary. But I absolutely did love their work in Quantum Break, and I know that they can craft an amazing story. So for that reason, I'm really excited for Crossfire X's single player, like their story mode.
Yeah, I think we're going to get something special with that.
Mhm.
And why I am excited for it is because very, very similar to how the developer that made, oh my God, for the PlayStation, Killzone, for instance. Now,
Mhm.
Killzone was a game that, hit or miss with a lot of people. But then they released a third person action adventure game in Horizon Zero Dawn, which, of course, is one of my favorite of the Sony generation. And now we're seeing the exact opposite. We're seeing Remedy Games, who is notorious for telling incredible stories. through a third person over the shoulder perspective. And we've seen that in obviously Alan Wake, we've seen that in Control, and of course Quantum Break. 3 fantastic titles. But this is their first shot at an FPS. And with their storytelling techniques, I am very interested to see what kind of Call of Duty esque story they are willing to tell. Obviously, it's going to be modern. We just don't know how modern, and we don't have a lot of information, but we do know it is coming out this year, and that is super, super excited for me. Out of those 3, that's the one that I'm most excited about. But let's talk about the next 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one is called Echo Generations, and it follows a gang of kids through an otherworld adventures as they investigate mysterious and supernatural events in their hometown that will change the course of their lives forever. The game is set in 1993. Now, this is another game for me, may not jump off the page, but for you, Zemi, this might be something. And there's another one here that looked dope. We've already seen it. It's called Exo Mecha. And it's a free-to-play online competitive first-person shooter that will have high-quality visuals, flexible gameplay, giant mechs, special gadgets and abilities, and massive boss battles with unique gameplay. And the third one on this list is Exo 1. And this finds players checking out a strange signal, which turns out to be an alien craft. This title is a gravity-defying interplanetary journey through space and time that's part of a mysterious narrative that unfolds around you. So this sounds like this could be a puzzler with a story, which is extremely interesting. Of the 3, which one excites you the most?
Honestly, I see. Part of me wants to say Echo Generation because the game is set in 1993. I was born in 1993. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to play a game based in the same year that I was born. That just seems kind of interesting. But it does say, investigate mysterious and supernatural events. I'm a coward. Depending on what that really entails, would kind of, I guess be, would base off of like how interested I would actually be in actually playing the game. But I would say Exo Mecha is probably the one that has me the most interested. I love online competitive first-person shooter games. It seems like they're I want, this is another game I really have not seen a lot of gameplay for, but it seems like they really are trying to do something exceptional with this game. They're adding in a lot of content. The one thing that kind of scares me is it's free to play, and we know with a lot of these free to play games, they like to put in a lot of microtransactions, and for a lot of free to play games, that's really just ruined the experience for me personally. So depending on how they do their free to play game, and of course, ultimately how the gameplay of their first person shooter feels, I guess would really impact how much I'm going to play of that game. But that's definitely one that I'm for sure going to check out. And then Exo 1, I actually have not seen that game. Do you know for a fact if it's a puzzler?
I actually don't, to be honest with you, but It certainly sounds like it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It sounds like something I would definitely be into, though. I love science fiction. I love, space. And it sounds, like it's, well, it literally says mystery. I love, puzzle solving types of gameplay. So for sure, I'd be interested. Out of the 3, Exo Mecha is probably the one I'm most interested in, though.
Yeah, and that's again all unique titles with all going into Xbox Game Pass. I think that is one of the biggest things here, because there are going to be games here. There's no doubt that people, if seen from a distance, may say, you know what, that's just not for me. But the great thing about Xbox Game Pass, and what Phil has talked about before. And we've heard this from Matt Booty, we've heard this from Aaron Greenberg, we've heard this from Larry Herb, we've heard this from people in our own community say that if it wasn't in Game Pass, they might have passed up X game, but because it was there, they got a chance to play it, and they enjoyed a genre that they normally wouldn't play if they had to go out and buy it. And that is, I think, was what is really the crux of the conversation. Not that everything is in Game Pass and hey, you get it for $15. That of course is important, but trying out new things in new genres that you may or may not like. You may try a game and be like, yeah, I just could not get into it. It's happened to me multiple times, but you know something? I tried it at least. Then there's been games where I've seen advertised, dropped into Game Pass. I'm like, well, I've never heard of that one. Let me just download it and see what it is. And I'm like, holy shit, this is an RPG. This is amazing. I didn't even know. And I'm playing it for 17, 18 hours. So I like the direction that Microsoft is going. I like the way that we're getting titles in Xbox Game Pass day and date. And I like the fact that more and more gamers are trying out genres that they normally would not play or even talk about for that matter. But we do have the next three are pretty interesting. The Gunk, which we saw a video of. It looks like a action platformer. It's by the creators of SteamWorld. That franchise, obviously, it was unique in itself, and this game looks incredible. And it says this: you embark on a new adventure as two friends who run a small scavenger outfit and who travel from one space rock to another in search of resources they can harvest and sell. Now, this looked again, what they're describing here did not look like what I originally saw. It looked more like an action platformer, but it might be an action platformer with the scavenging kind of a situation. Obviously, this needs no introduction because I'm going in alphabetical order based on how it was written on Xbox Wire. But Halo Infinite, I mean, really, what else is there to say? Hey, Master Chief is back. We could get the Return of the Flood. We're going to get an incredible looking Halo Infinite. We're getting almost a reboot of the series or the franchise, if you will. And the third one on this list is The Last Stop. Now, this one is interesting because this one says it's a new game from Variable State is the developer, creators of the award-winning Virginia, which was a fantastic game.
Oh, yeah.
And The Last Stop is a single-player, third-person adventure set in present-day London where you play as three separate characters whose worlds collide during a supernatural crisis. Now, Zemi, being the story kind of a person and gamer that you are, I know that this one is jumping off the page for you, but obviously it's hard to get excited even more so than for Halo Infinite. I mean, if I had to pick, it's going to be Halo Infinite out of the three, but I think that all three have a unique flavor to them, and I think that's going to be a running narrative. For you, what are you most excited about these particular three?
I think Gunk looks really, really good. I've only seen it the one time that it was shown off during one of Xbox's shows, I believe in July, right?
Yes, yeah. It was in the July show.
Yeah, that was the first and last time I actually saw any gameplay of it, I believe. The game looks really good. I don't know if it really falls in, to what I want to personally play. But it definitely looks like a very well made, very, whenever you look at a game, it really, like, they really spent a lot of time on it, right? You can clearly tell that by just how the graphics and the gameplay look and everything. I don't think it's going to be a game that I'm going to be super interested in. I might try it out. I don't think that it has that addictive gameplay, quality or loop to have me keep coming back for more. Halo Infinite, I think the way that you said it, what else is there to say? The Master Chief is back is the perfect way of saying it. It's Halo Infinite, right? We all know what that game is. And I'm absolutely, excited. I'm holding back my excitement levels because, of everything, all the stuff going out around the game. But for me, out of these three and very, very hot, topic here, I already know a lot of people in chat are going to hate me for what I'm about to say, but I'm actually probably more excited about The Last Stop. This was a game that I think also got shown off during one of Xbox's shows halfway through last year. I think maybe even the July showcase. And I absolutely positively loved Virginia. I absolutely loved that game. I think this is like I think this might be their first game since they made Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it is.
I might be mistaken, but I absolutely love that game. What they were able to do with storytelling, well, while not actually having any voice dialogue, I thought was ingenious, and it worked so well in Virginia. Of course, I think the last stop is going to have dialogue. But I think that they're, expert, storytellers. I'm huge into narrative, and I think the premise of this game looks really, really good. And what I saw, in the short trailer and the short clips that we saw last year looked really, really good. I'm very, very, very excited about this one.
Yeah, and again, I knew you would be. Virginia was a fantastic game, told an incredible story, and it's this. I mean, obviously, it was an award-winning title. This is an award-winning developer bringing something new to Xbox Game Pass day and date. And I think this again at the end of the year, when we start talking about Game of the Year by indie developers, you never know. This could potentially be in that conversation for sure. Let me just catch up on a super chat that just popped in. Viper XT drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I noticed Second Extinction and Stalker 2 are not on this list. Both supposed to be coming this year. I wonder if that has changed. You know what? There was an update to Stalker 2, and according to the developer, that is also scheduled for this year, as well as what's the other one he said? Second Extinction, I believe, is also this year. I'm not sure if I actually think it's on the. Hold on, let me look. Let me see. No, it's not on this particular list, but I believe that's another game. And again, they did say that there were more games to be added to the list. This was just a general, hey, listen, we're going to give you guys a heads up of what we know is coming. And I think that is important because we're going to, on the second half of the show, we're going to get into what Jez Corden had to say about the 2 AAA bombs that he knows that are not on this list. But let's continue. They have a game called Lake, and it says this. It's September 1st, 1986. You take on the role of a 40-something Meredith Weiss, who returns from the big city to her quiet hometown. She exchanges her busy career as a software company at a software company to fill in for her dad in a local mail carrier. Again, not something that's that I may be into, but something worthy of a conversation. Because again, it seems like it's going to be a story-driven title, something like we've talked about, to nauseum in this first topic. Story-based games, they are for someone. Someone is going to play this game like, you know what? I absolutely loved it. The next one is called Little Witch in the Woods. And it's a fantasy RPG where you get to live the life of a witch. You play as the character's name is Ellie, a little witch that has just come into her own, and you are set to be a part of this giant growing witch house. Again, not for me, but we have to see. And the next one is going to be Zemi's Game of the Year 2021 for sure, with Bloober Team's The Medium. Obviously, what could you say? It's a third-person psychological horror game that's going to have Zemi running for cover, and also Twitch streaming it live on his channel. Cannot wait to see that. The cries for help that should be coming. Of the three, I know which one doesn't jump off the page for you, but honestly, The Medium is next week, in just about 2 weeks. And The Medium is going to be a big game. That is the first real next-generation title for Xbox Series X and S. It was built with these consoles in mind. It is an exclusive for right now. We don't know if Bloober Team will eventually bring it to the PlayStation 5. Who knows? By then, Microsoft will own them, so that would be a big no. What do you think about the Lake, Little Witch in the Woods, and The Medium, Zemi?
Well, first off, this isn't a super chat, but Eagles fan 76 posted in chat probably I think like 10 minutes ago. Zemi needs to live stream him playing Medium in the dark. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Boom is spreading lies. Okay, I am not streaming that game. I'm not playing that game. I'm not going near that game. And it all has to do with me just being a coward. And I really wish I wasn't a coward, because the game looks absolutely phenomenal. I just recently got a 4K monitor. That game would look so good on this monitor. I'm not ever gonna know That's always going to be the mystery for me because I'm not going to play it. But I really like what the medium is doing in the sense of, its unique gameplay of splitting the screen for like the spirit world and the real world. I think it's really ambitious what Bloober Team is doing with that, and it kills me that I won't play the game. But I won't play the game because I'm just a coward, and that's just me being honest. Little Witch, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Does not sound like a game for me. I think it sounds like a very cutesy kind of game. It does not sound like it would really appeal to me and what I like to play in games. And the lake sounds like it has a very, very strong narrative, very interesting story. I actually have not seen gameplay of the lake. I don't even know if gameplay is out for that game. I definitely need to look that up. Depending on what genre of game it is would really kind of depend on if I'm going to play it or not, right? If it's a side-scrolling kind of platformer-esque game, probably not going to play it. If it's more of like a walking simulator or something along the lines of maybe like what Don't Nod does with Life is Strange, something more around that, then I'd definitely be into that.
Yeah, and again, the wonderful thing is that all of these games are going into Game Pass, so we have the ability to try them out. And if they're just not for you, well, then obviously you move on. It's like a salad bar. Not everything in the salad bar you're going to dig, right? So, the next three, and this is one of the bigger ones. This is a AAA bomb. Again, not maybe for everyone, but certainly it has made strides to become one of the best flight sims ever released. That's Microsoft Flight Sim by Asobo Studios. That is doing very well on PC, and it's going to garner a tremendous following when it releases this summer onto Xbox Series X and S, right into Game Pass. The second one is interesting. It's a platformer. It's by obviously a first-party studio. This is a multi-plat, but they couldn't. I couldn't pass adding it to the list, and neither could Xbox Wire. And of course, I'm talking about Psychonauts 2, and obviously. This is going to be a big game for that team. I think that again, if you enjoyed the first one, you're probably going to be looking forward to Psychonauts 2. And the next one is a smaller one. It's called RPG Time. And basically, it says here, school's out, meet us in an empty classroom for a grand adventure with a young, aspiring game developer and his very own RPG. So it sounds like it's almost like a fourth wall kind of breaking scenario where you're going to be, as a developer, making this game, but also playing it in real time. I don't have any screenshots for it, but it sounds interesting. For you, what are you most excited of these three, Zemi?
Oh, God, it's like I'm looking at Flight Simulator and I'm looking at Psychonauts 2, and I'm like, I don't know which one. Honestly, probably gonna be Psychonauts 2 is probably what I'm most excited about. I played the previous one a little bit a long time ago. I never actually finished the game. I was really, really young whenever that game came out. But I remember enjoying playing it so much. It's kind of like one of those games. It'd kind of just be hard for me to go back to now because of the graphics. I might try to do that. But Psychonauts 2 has held, like, as soon as I saw it, I knew that it was going to be a game that I would be playing on day one. So I'm really, really excited for that and to see how the story progresses. But Flight Simulator, man, I mean, Asobo Studios is like one of my, favorite, newer kind of studios. I mean, they're not new, but like their relevance, I think, is a lot newer than what it was with the last two games that they've released. And that game just looks so good. I mean, just the environments flying through, the air looks really, really interesting. The way that weather, is updated to real time. So if there's a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico and you fly through the Gulf of Mexico, you can literally go through the hurricane. It's just such an amazing, large, ambitious game. And I cannot wait to play it, on Xbox later on this year. but Psychonauts 2 is probably going to be like the one I have to, say that one out of the threes is my, I'm definitely is my pick. RPG time, or School's Out. That game, it looks kind of cool, looks kind of interesting. I'm gonna have to see more on it though. But I do agree with you. It's kind of breaking the fourth wall ish. And I really like the idea of the story, but I would need to see gameplay and more of the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a smaller title. As a matter of fact, who said this in here? Let me see if I could find it. Let me see. Where are you? I believe it was Thanaros that said RPG time looks really good,
Does
and
it?
that's what he's saying. So, and I believe him. So I haven't had a chance to see it myself per se, but
Same.
it's something I would definitely, give the time of day, if you will. But let's move on to the next three. One of which there's a game in here you're not going to play for sure. But Sable is a coming of age tale of discovery through exploration across a strikingly rendered open world desert. Go on a deeply personal journey across an alien planet as the young Sable, exploring ancient monuments, ruined architecture, and ships fallen from the cosmos. This sounds very Journey esque. And it seems like there might not even be any dialogue into this game, but it just may be a game that is about discovery, and I would imagine that it's going to be big locations that are going to look gorgeous. The next one is Scorn, which I am unbelievably excited for. Obviously, Scorn pulls cues from H.R. Geiger, the creator of Alien. This game looks gross. It looks dark. It looks scary. It looks like you're going to be running for your life most of the time. And it's a game that Zemi will not be playing on his Twitch channel. And the next one is this one is a little interesting. It says She Dreams Elsewhere is a surreal adventure RPG about dreams and the extent to which they mirror reality. You play as Tyler, an anxiety-ridden, comatose woman on a journey to confront her nightmares, preventing her from waking, while also finding out how exactly this mess happened in the first place. Again, a story-driven narrative that seems like it's very interesting. For you, which of the three, Zemi, are excited to play?
Honestly, depending on the level of potential creepiness that She Dreams Elsewhere has, that would probably be my pick. I don't like scary games, jump scares, horror, any of that type of stuff. But like a light thriller doesn't really bother me that bad. And if it's more like a thriller in like the movie, genre sense, that would probably be the game that I would be most into. Not into Scorn, absolutely not. I think the game
That's not a surprise, to be
I
honest.
think it looks absolutely disgusting. But then also I think it just seems a little too slow, and I actually said this on a previous podcast, kind of just boring.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a game that a lot of people are going to enjoy, but it's just not up to my speed. And then Sable, I actually have not seen anything from this game, but it seems kind of out there, a little wild. With I think you said ships falling from sky, and ancient monuments and all that different stuff. I'm not saying that wouldn't be a game I wouldn't download just to give a little try in Game Pass, but it's not really speaking to me. So She Dreams Elsewhere is probably the one that I would go with.
Okay. I mean, again, we will have an opportunity to play and talk about these games
Mm-hmm.
in upcoming shows, whether that be on this program or, of course, on the Xbox Factor podcast on Thursdays. The next three are all awesome games, in my opinions. First of all, Shredders. Is inspired by the classic snowboarding game Amped, which was a launch title for the Xbox 360, if I recall correctly. And it says Shredders put you on top of the coolest slopes, free ride spots, and snow parks, aiming to recreate the sheer joy of riding down a mountain. That sounds dope to me. The next one is an indie title that our very good friend Archimedes got a chance to play before anyone else, and it's called Song of Iron. Obviously, it is a moody and provoking action adventure type of title. It certainly reminds me of Limbo or Inside by Play Dead. But this is you take the role of a Viking looking to, I believe, avenge his clan, and it's a lot of sneaking. It's a lot of sword fighting. I played it myself when the demo was up. I got killed a lot. If you do make bad moves and bad choices, you will die. The next one for me is the most exciting of them all, and that, of course, is Tunic. Now, this is an action-adventure game about a small fox in a big world who must explore the countryside, fight monsters, and discover secrets, crafted to invoke feelings of classic action-adventure games like Zelda or Zelda 2. I have been dying. As excited as I am for The Ascent, this particular game, and this, by the way, is being made by one man, OPS, by the way, looks incredible. Not only is the character adorable and appealing to the eye, but it seems like a love letter to anyone who has ever played the original Zelda on the NES, and I personally can't wait. For you, Zemi, what of the three are the ones that get you excited, or are, like me, all three games getting you amped?
Shredders, I think sounds absolutely awesome. I do not snowboard in real life. I don't actually do any games because I'm lazy. But I do like sports games. And I've played probably 3-4 snowboarding games. Total, and I've enjoyed all three of them. So Shredders is definitely one that really really catches my eye and has me interested. Song of Iron, I think that game actually sounds really, really pretty cool. And I see that you said that it reminds you of Limbo or Inside.
Yes.
I never played Limbo. I actually did play Inside, and man, that game was so creepy. I actually played it with the sound off. Most of the game, and I only played it because I was watching a guide of getting like achievements, and the game was free. But yeah, that game, it was an amazing game. The graphics looked incredible on Inside. I really, really was impressed by that game. So just that statement alone has me really, really interested in looking more into Song of Iron and just trying to figure out what's going on with that game and try to convince myself to become more interested in it, honestly. Tunic, that's another one of those games that I know that you're excited about. I know that so many people are excited about, and it definitely does have that Zelda vibe. I'm not the biggest Zelda fan. We were actually talking about this before the show, funny enough. Not the biggest Zelda fan. And I think the game looks incredible for being made by one person. It has that cutesy kind of vibe with the fox running around with his, sword, with the combat and everything. It just does. It's not calling out to me as a game I'm definitely going to have to jump into day one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it for me personally, there's a bit of familiarity to it because obviously I'm a big fan of Zelda. I love the series. I absolutely love the top down look, which is, I believe, this one looks like it's going to be potentially not just top down. It looks like there may be some astrometric, I believe it's called, from like a 3 3/4 view. But it looks incredible. Again, it was supposed to be a launch title, and obviously one guy is doing it, so we have to be patient. But when this game comes out by the one developer, I think we're going to be talking about it for quite some time. So the next three are interesting and all, of course, cover a wide range of titles. 12 Minutes being Zemi's potentially Game of the Year 2021. This is a title that is getting a lot of buzz for a lot of reasons. One, it's simply a game in one particular room. It tells a story of dread. It tells a story of fear. It tells a story of loss. A lot, and I don't even know if there's if what else is there going on that they didn't show us, but it is that one particular room. What's interesting and what is even more exciting for me, and I believe Zemi will mirror this, is that the voice actors in this is James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and William Dafoe. I mean, for crying out loud, that's massive voice talent, but actors and actress talent is just off the charts. The next one is called Unexplored 2. And now this is an action RPG that aims to capture the same sense of adventure and wonder as a tabletop RPG. Explore beautiful landscapes and discover hidden marvels, encounter magical creatures and dangerous foes. Sounds right up my alley. And this one over here, the next one, is interesting. Warhammer 40K, Dark Tide. Now, this is a 4-player co-op action game set in the hive city of Tetrium. Now, it says here, fight together with your friends against hordes of enemies in this new Warhammer 40K experience, and it is being compared to Left 4 Dead with, of course, a different, coat of paint, so to speak. You're in the 40K, the Warhammer universe. For me, I cannot wait. Zemi, we know what jumps off the page, but I like the fact that all three of these games that we're talking about now are different parts of the spectrum, and that's what makes Xbox Game Pass very interesting.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. Everyone should know. I mean, if this is not their first episode of one of your podcasts that I'm on, everyone should know that I'm going to have to say 12 minutes all the way is what I'm most excited about. I mean, if you remember back, we were doing a show right after, I think, E3 2018. I want to say it was 2018, or it might have been 2019. And 12 minutes was shown during there, and it was my game of the show. Like, literally, out of all the games that were shown during that year's E3, 12 minutes, took the cake. Like, it was literally my game of the show. And I absolutely was completely invested into that game. And then whenever I heard, the cast of voice actors, Daisy Ridley, William Dafoe, I mean, just the talent that they have for that. I mean, I'm all in. Like, I want the people behind 12 minutes to already take my money. Like, I will pay them. I know it's on Game Pass, but I will literally pay them money. Just give me this game tomorrow. I want this game. But 100% 12 minutes. I love the Groundhog style, like, story. The graphics, I think, look really, really good and really capture the atmosphere of what of the story they're trying to tell. I really cannot wait for 12 minutes. Unexplored 2. I never played Unexplored 1. And I love RPGs. I don't know if I've ever played an RPG that, I guess, to quote them, captures the same experience as like the tabletop game. I'm not sure if I've ever played an RPG like that. That's something I would definitely have to look more into. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in looking and seeing more into that game and jumping into it day one and playing it with some friends. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, I mean, listen, again, smaller and big titles wrapped together equal the potential for lots and lots of games to play. Got to give a big shout out to our resident sheriff. Lethal Papa has been very busy. Apparently, we have a couple of D-bags in the chat. And here's the thing, folks. If Xbox is not your brand, it's not your bag, you don't enjoy gaming on it, you don't own the console, I'm going to say this is going to be a little harsh, but it must be said. If you are someone in the chat that goes to other people's live shows to be an a-hole, look in the mirror and find out where you went wrong in life. Instead of going left, maybe next time you should go right, because I think that you live a very, very pathetic existence if you're coming into someone's chat to just be a D-bag. And that is a pathetic thing. You could be helping others. You could be donating your time to make sure that people in your community are safe. Hell, you could be playing games. The fact that you come into the chat and multiple chats, I might add, is a sad thing. So I would say get some help. Talk to someone that will tolerate your BS, and you're just going to keep getting banned. But thank you, Lethal Papa, for always being the man. Definitely appreciate that. But the last three on the list, Zemi, are, again, very, very different games. The first one is called Way Into the Woods. Now, this is being called Artwork in Motion, where a deer and its fawn must embark on a journey throughout an abandoned world of the unknown to get home. It's a third-person adventure game being made by one person. By his name is Anthony Tan. Now, we saw this a couple of years ago. It's a cartoon-esque type of graphic. It's not a real life thing that you would find in like one of Sony's third-person games. But again, maybe not for everyone, but a game that you just want to relax and play. It seems interesting. The next one is called The Wild at Heart. And it says here, the player will command a magical swarm of curious creatures in a story-rich action-adventure game about childhood escapism, battle precarious wildlife and supernatural foes, construct and craft new pathways, and discover the secrets of the unique and sequestered world rich with centuries full of lore. It seems, again, very, very different type of game. Maybe not for me, but certainly for someone. And the next one isn't necessarily an exclusive from a first party, but it is the first time that these games are on Xbox, and that is the Yakuza Remastered Collection. And obviously, them coming to Xbox Game Pass, Zemi, is a big, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts of these last three on the list?
Way in the Woods isn't necessarily something that would have me super, super interested into it. I don't remember if I've ever actually saw the gameplay that you're referring to. I don't know how old that was. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it would be a no. It would just be I would definitely have to look into it a little bit more. I love, the more cartoony artwork. I really, really appreciate that. It's just something I'm gonna have to see more of. Same deal with Wild at Heart. If I'm gonna be honest, I just have not seen anything really from that game. It sounds like an interesting premise. There's definitely other games on this list that I would put above it. Yakuza is probably the thing that has me the most interested out of these three. I've actually never played a Yakuza game, though. I've heard a lot about it. I've seen a lot of gameplay. I've always wanted to jump in, especially since, all of the, I don't know if all of them, but at least most of them, I think, have been getting ported over to Xbox. It's something that's been on my list for a very, very, very long time. And it's a list of games that I definitely want to jump into. I don't know if it's going to be a day one for me. There's so many games coming out, but it's definitely something that's in my backlog. All the ones that currently are out right now are still in my backlog, though. Hopefully I have time to play them sometime.
Yeah, and again, look, here's the thing, folks. This list was lengthy. And obviously, we're closing in on an hour. We are going to get to the second topic. We may go over a little bit, and that could be a running theme moving forward. I like 60-minute shows because it still gives us an opportunity to do things throughout the day, but also we don't want to drag our heels. But being that we did have a lot of games to cover, and of course, breaking down each particular three games was a good format, at least I think. But let's move on to topic number 2. And this one is interesting for a lot of reasons, because, basically the cat is out of the bag, so to speak, for what games are coming out from multiple partners and first party, titles on this list. I guess we can say the cat is out of the bag, but with all of the releases out there, it's not all of the releases. And that is what gets me excited, because as of this show, we don't know exactly what the 2 AAA bombs that are not on this list. There are also games that people pointed out in the chat that are not on this list that could be coming in 2021 as well. But we do know, and we do have confirmation from several people within the industry that they know of 2 big games, Corden being one of those people. And I'm going to just read some quotes as we continue with this, because there are 2 big AAA games coming that are Xbox first party exclusives. The question is, what are they? Or the question for the chat is, what do you want them to be? Now, the easy one for me, Zemi, I think, is Ninja Theory's Senua Saga Hellblade 2. I don't know if we're going to get that game this year. I know that we're going to be talking about that particular game on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast. The reason why it's a conversation is because the actress that plays Senua and is mocapped as that character, they're back in the studio filming, and that is a good thing. Now, we don't know if they're filming additional scenes. We don't know if this is added content. We don't know if this is just part of the game development, and we may not see this game until early next year. We don't know. But one of the other games that I think is a pretty much a lock, and we've heard this from numerous people in the industry. Jeff Grubb, for instance, of the website VentureBeat, he had put out a thing of before the holidays that he has heard that the next Forza is going to not be motorsport, which is what I thought it was going to be. In fact, it's going to be Forza Horizon 5, which would be incredible. But to add to this, a developer at DICE added to the conversation last week where he is suggesting the company has, and I quote, and in quotes here, quite a few of unannounced games that are coming in 2021. And of course, now we do have the Windows Central editor and noted inside Xbox insider Jez Corden has also added to the conversation. And this is what he says. The list did say that it was all the announced games, as if to say more are coming. I know of at least 2 games, and he stops. Then he says big games that aren't on this list and that are in fact coming for Xbox in 2021. Now, Jez made these comments on the latest episode, I believe it was last week's episode of the Xbox 2 podcast with friend of the show, Randall Thor 19, where he also said this. He didn't want to, he explained he didn't want to ruin the team's surprise, as he believes the developers should get to announce these games first. And he says this, when it comes to stuff, when it comes to this stuff, I won't leak it. I think it's much cooler if the announcement comes from as a part of a surprise, part of a big show, and the team gets to announce it themselves. Zemi, look, again, there isn't a lot to go on. But again, knowing that Jez Corden, who has been a great source of Xbox information over the past, generation and going into the new generation, I trust what he had to say. Knowing that there are 2 unannounced big, and he said the words, big games coming in 2021. The question is what and when? What do you think that these 2 titles could be?
Yeah, so my thoughts on this are probably not going to be very helpful at all. Maybe a little bit, but they're more than anything probably going to be more mildly infuriating, I think. I'm a really big, I think, stickler to details, and I really like to dissect what people say in each word they say it. And from what I have gathered from this is they're saying, they were reporting and saying that there are 2 unannounced AAA games that should be on this list but aren't on this list, right? And so you mentioned Ninja Theory's Hellblade 2, but that's announced, right?
Yes,
it is, right? So it can't be anything that's already been announced, right? So the initiative, they're out, right? We know they're making Perfect Dark. Now, could they be working on a second project? Absolutely, that's completely possible, right? I mean, but I don't think that's really. I don't think that would be coming out this year. I mean, it could be, right? So I think even looking at all of the Xbox game studios, the one that I think makes the most sense as having an unannounced game that we might know a little bit somewhat about is Compulsion Games having that new IP that is like Uncharted meets BioShock, and for this game coming out in 2021, I feel kind of mixed about that because in an article, I think someone from Compulsion, I don't actually have the article, unfortunately, but I believe that somebody from Compulsion said that they started started a new project after they completed the final DLC for We Happy Few. And that DLC didn't come out until late 2019, right? So I guess following, that time scale, or time frame, it's possible that Compulsion's next game could be one of the two that we're talking about, but it's also, I think, equally as unlikely to happen. But what I'm really kind of thinking whenever I hear, unannounced, games is, what's happening over at ZeniMax, right? And whenever I looked at, majority of their studios and games that are unannounced, I don't really know of anything. I don't really know of anything that anyone could really be making. Because, I mean, the Indiana Jones thing, that would definitely be one of them,
Yes.
potentially, of course, right? But I don't think that that's going to come out in 21, right? Maybe ZeniMax Online has been working on a secret project that they might want to push out in 21. I'm not 100% sure. But what I think makes the most sense is potentially new acquisitions coming into the fold that Xbox might already know about, that that some of these media people might already know about, that have a game that's unannounced that will be dropping this year. I think that makes the most sense to where these unannounced or these two unannounced games could potentially come from, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And again, I think, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to find the message here. Let's see where I could find it. I know someone. Okay, here we go. First of all, the super chat comes in from Viper XT with an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, my friend. He says this: add Second Extinction, Stalker 2, and the other game I forgot. He's talking about Bright Memory Infinite, and 2021 looks great for Xbox. And I think we're going to get all three of those games, plus some first-party goodness in the form of games that we don't know. Look, here's the thing, folks. I think it was ballsy for Xbox Wire to post this article, because this could have fallen flat. I think that if you talk to most Xbox gamers, knowing that what is on this list is coming in 2021, I think it's a very positive conversation. We talked about on last week's show how Clogreel had put that list together of what he thinks is coming out in 21, 22, 23, and 24. And we don't know if COVID has affected any of those titles moving or not moving. But for Xbox Wire to post these games in this extensive list, I think it's safe to say that they are confident that every one of these games release in 2021. And that list is impressive. Again, and not every game here is going to be for everyone. But let's not make no mistake here. As big as the Ascent, I think, is going to be, the Medium, Tunic, 12 Minutes, Shredders, Psychonauts 2, the big conversation piece here is Halo Infinite. There's just no doubt about it. And it would be pretty impressive, Zemi, if when you break down the 2021 into quarters and you talk about January, February, March, if Microsoft can get one of those big AAA bombs to drop in that first quarter of the year, and then obviously you bookend it with Halo Infinite in the last quarter of the 12 months, and then somehow or another you can get a AAA bomb in the other two quarters. If you have a AAA first party IP, which would be a total of 4 for this year, and then you can sprinkle these other titles around it, I think you cannot walk away disappointed as an Xbox fan. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that that's definitely going to be the direction that they're hopefully going to shoot for. Is we may be able to see it in 2021, but I think as years go on and as Xbox continues, I think that that's definitely what they are shooting for, / what they definitely should shoot for is every quarter to have that really big, heavy hitting AAA, quadruple A, as we sometimes say, first party game, and then of course have like the smaller games like what you mentioned, just trickled throughout the year. I think that that's what they're shooting for. Will they meet it this year? I'm not 110% sure. I don't know if enough AAA first party games are ready at this point. You know what I mean? That's kind of like one of those things that we often talk about, right? Is, we want games, we want games, we want games. And one message that we're always communicating on this podcast is, the games are coming. It's just going to take time. I don't know if right now is the exact time. I don't know if they have had enough time to build up, to be able to, push out massive AAA games, especially, early on in this year, right? With how COVID has affected things, a lot of delays have happened, unfortunately. So I don't know about this year that happening, but I think that is going to be the plan. I think that we will definitely possibly see that in 2022. I think that's what they will be aiming after.
And I agree with you. And you know what? The one variable that we have not really broken down is, okay. So let's say, for instance, their big title for the first quarter of the year is The Medium. Now, The Medium, it looks like it's a AAA experience. It's made by Bloober Team, who has the chops to tell a terrifying story. The game looks like it is going to be very reminiscent of Silent Hill. This could potentially be a big game for Xbox. It is an exclusive in 2021. Again, I don't know if that's going to change moving forward, but for right now, it is an exclusive. And it is the first real next-gen game for the Xbox and Xbox X and the Series X and S. So it's not coming to Xbox One. You have to get a new console to play it. That's a big deal. We know Halo is definitely coming at the last quarter of the year. When you talk about, well, what do we do for the other quarters? Well, in the summer, you have Flight Simulator. Now, again, that's not a game for everyone. So I would like them to add another big game in that quarter. But so far, the list looks pretty good. I know there's you're going to have the one thing that you're going to get on this particular topic, Zemi, is a varied amount of opinions. Some people really like what they're doing, what they're putting down, and other people, they want those AAA Sony-esque type of games. Those are coming. I don't know how else to say it, how many times we need to continue to say it. Like you just said it moments ago, you don't know if they're ready because a lot of these studios were purchased in 2018, 2019, 2020. But Starfield is the enigma because you think that that's coming this year. I think it's coming this year, and that could be a first-party AAA bomb from Bethesda. And that is another variable that we have to take into account. I am very, very impressed with this list. I definitely want to applaud Xbox Wire for putting it out there. That took balls. It took balls of steel.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was either a stupid thing for them to do or an amazingly confident thing for them to do. Because what them putting out this list basically says to gamers is that these games will be dropping this year, right? And it's ballsy in the sense that if, certain, games, I mean, maybe, smaller indie games that, people, honestly, unfortunately wouldn't, care as much about. If those don't come out, that's one thing. But if certain bigger name titles don't come out, then they're really hurting themselves. So it absolutely is a very ballsy move for them to do this.
I absolutely agree, and I love it. I love the aggressive behavior. This is something that, and again, you have to weigh in the conversation. Who else is doing this? Has Sony done this? Do we know anything of Sony that's coming out? Not really. Has Nintendo given us a roadmap for 2021? No, they said games are coming, but we just don't know. We know one's coming next month in the form of Super Mario World 3D World, which I cannot wait to play. We know Ratchet and Clank is supposedly the first quarter of the year. Returnal is coming out, which I'm going to buy for the PlayStation 5. But this is a move of confidence. I like that you said that because I think that if they didn't deliver on this, or they didn't think they could deliver on this many games in 2021, that range again from AAA bombs to single man developed indie titles, they'd put themselves in trouble with the community. And I think that they are confident that these games are coming. And again, from small to big, big to small, there is something here for everyone. I honestly cannot wait to see what else they're going to add to this list. I think that we are going to be very, very surprised. And we have heard Phil Spencer say on numerous occasions that he is very excited about the games that he has not talked about yet. And that has me excited. And we could
Yeah.
get one or two of those games this year, Zemi.
No, absolutely. And something else, I'm not sure if you mentioned this yet or not, but I think we probably mentioned this almost every single podcast, is just the level of transparency that we get with Xbox that we unfortunately don't get with really any of the other major, console manufacturers, right? And I think you touched around it, right? We don't exactly know which games are coming out this year for Nintendo, for a large portion. Like you said, we do know of that one game. Same as PlayStation. We don't have a real roadmap of kind of what to expect and like the total volume of what we can expect. And it's just amazing that Xbox and Microsoft see the value in being as transparent as what they are with the fan base. And we often talk on this show about Game Pass and how variety is key, and there of course are going to be several games on this list that not every gamer is going to be interested in, and that's perfectly fine. That's kind of the idea of adding variety into your game service, and into Game Pass, right? Same as Netflix. Not every movie on Netflix is for every viewer. Not every game on Game Pass is for every gamer. Of course, you're going to have some that are going to want to play, every single game, but the majority of us aren't going to be interested. But I think that there is several games on this list that should have
A unique appeal to many gamers. Yeah.
The majority of gamers interested in at least a couple of them, right? And then, combining, these games that we, have a very strong idea are for sure probably going to come out this year with the games that they still haven't announced, and then include all of the third-party titles that we know of coming out, and that could potentially still be announced as coming out this year. I think 2021 is going to be a fantastic year for gaming just all around.
Yeah, I'm very excited that we're going to be here on this new show to talk about it. And again, this was a great opening show. Hopefully you folks enjoyed it. Please, if you did, consider hitting the like button. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. That obviously would be fantastic. And of course, once we're done, this will go live. I'm going to drop it into the RSS feeds, where if you don't want to listen on YouTube, you can listen to it on one of your favorite podcasting services. We did have a super chat come in from the very generous Viper XT, who continues to show his tremendous support. He drops an outstanding $10 super chat, and he says this: I think Starfield could be coming this year as well. Bethesda and Xbox keep mentioning it. They are talking about this game like they literally have it on their console and they're playing as we speak. That's a great point. He says, my picks for unannounced games possibly are Wolfenstein 3. Holy shit, that would be a big one. And obviously Forza Horizon 5. I mean, and again, when you factor in the X factor, and I mean that on purpose, two big games, like Wolfenstein and Horizon, on top of what we know, and you get a Starfield in there, my God, that's a solid year for 2021.
No, absolutely. I definitely think that we will see a Forza this year. I like to believe that it's going to be motorsports, so I don't have to shave off my beard. And I think a great racing game would fit in fantastically in this year. I don't want to crush dreams. I think a Wolfenstein 3 would be awesome. I don't think that's going to happen, because we do know that Machine Games is currently working on the Indiana Jones game, and ID Software. They recently, I think like last year, right, released Doom Eternal. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I wish it would.
You know what, dude? I mean, look, we can say that it's tough.
We can dream.
Yeah, we certainly can dream, indeed. And you know something? What the last Wolfenstein with the two daughters didn't hit for me personally. That was so good. But I think a Wolfenstein 3 might be closer than anyone is looking to give it credit for, and that would be a big one. That's again, it is going to be a much bigger deal once the ink is signed. Once they could finally talk about what's currently going on at the studios, it is we're going to be very surprised. I think there's a lot of unannounced projects going on. I think there is a reason outside of just the incredible IP that's going on. As a matter of fact, I mean, here's a perfect example of that, Zemi, and it's not coming out this year, but it's certainly worthy of a conversation. And that is what's going on in Texas with the developer of from Bethesda that made the oh my God, why did it jumped out of my head? Prey. The Prey developer is making a brand new IP, and that's currently going on in Austin, Texas, right now. That studio, it's again another probably RPG type of game, but I think 2021 is stacked. If you don't, you know what? Let us know in the chat why you don't think it's stacked. Maybe 90% of these games aren't for you, but man, a good portion of these are definitely going to be for me. Zemi, we got another super chat that came in from the Bad Boy Live. Okay, hold on just a second. My mic went out. Okay, he says this.
Gotcha.
Hope you had a happy holidays. I'm so excited for what's to come throughout this year. Generation on Series X and PS5 gamers should all I believe meant to say all gamers should feel incredibly blessed. Indeed, we should. Competition breeds great aspiration. And you know something? That's a great point, Bad Boy, for sure. And I think that the reason why you see the moves that Microsoft made are in conjunction with how well Sony did in the last generation, for sure. But listen, Zemi, we've gone on 15 minutes past the hour. I hope everyone enjoyed the first episode of this limited series, Xbox One-on-One. This is something that Zemi and I are going to be doing each and every week. This was a little bit a bigger week because we talked about this massive list of games confirmed by Xbox Wire. In the future, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about, listen, if something big breaks, understand we're going to talk about it. But the format of the show, Zemi and I thought we wanted to do something slightly different than the Xbox Factor podcast. And we're going to be covering many of the games that we talked about specifically in detail. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're only covering games in 2021. If something new for Fable comes out, we'll talk about Fable. If something new comes into the conversation about Ninja Theory's Hellblade 2, we'll talk about it. But we are going to be covering 2 games per show, and hopefully we can garner an audience that is going to enjoy a different type of conversation, a more intimate conversation with particular games than just talking about the drama news of the week. That is going to remain proper on the Xbox Factor podcast. But Zemi, let's get everyone out of here. I want to thank the near 300 people we had tuning in for today's show. I definitely appreciate you supporting this new venture. Again, hopefully you enjoyed the hour and 15 that we were here, and that you will come back next Tuesday for Xbox One-on-One episode 2. Zemi, tell everyone but where they can reach out to you, strike up a conversation on social media, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel, and also head over to theconstantgamer.com and check out your website, where right now I and you just posted 2 really cool quizzes. One is about the Elder Scrolls, and the other one I wrote and you posted about a Resident Evil quiz. Both got a lot of positive feedback from the community. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing that I'm doing nowadays is working on a brand new website, trying to build it up. It's called constantgamer.com, and it's a gaming news and review website where we post all sorts of just gaming journalism and so on and so forth. We also have a section where we cover tutorials and in-game walkthroughs, just pretty much your typical gaming news website, but we do try to be more factual, more objective, and a heck of a lot less bias as other certain media websites. And then we also have a community tab where we post game quizzes. So, Boom, like he just mentioned, he posted a Resident Evil quiz for anyone to just go to the website, play the quiz, see if you pass, see if you know as much about Resident Evil as Boom does. And then also we have an Elder Scrolls quiz. For you guys to play, and more quizzes will be coming to the website as well. It's just a really cool place to go and have fun playing some quizzes, catch up on gaming news, all that different stuff. We currently have 3 writers. We're looking for more writers. So if any of you guys ever thought you might be interested in writing for a gaming website, feel free to click on the contact us button at the top of the site, and then click on the link that says join the team, and all the information should be there. And then if you guys want to go and check out our YouTube channel, it's called Constant Gamer. Our Twitter is called Constant Gamer as well. And on constantgamer.com, you can actually access both of those pages, both of those social media pages, by using the links up in the top right-hand corner of the site. So it's all super easy. Just if you go to constantgamer.com, you'll find everything there.
Nice. Well, listen, it's great to see you doing new things on the site. And yes, I'm going to be adding content of my own to his site. I'm going to be writing up some opinion pieces in the coming weeks. Look forward to doing that. And obviously, if you ever wanted to get into gaming journalism, please reach out to Zemi. He is obviously, like he said, looking for writers. And we're always looking for different opinions in gaming, whether they be controversial or not. And I think that if you have something that you want to talk about and you're passionate about it, getting your feet wet and reaching out to Zemi would be a great way to get started in that genre. Real quick, JD Gamer, a very generous friend of the show. JD, how the hell have you been, brother? Happy New Year. He drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, everyone push that like button. Well, thank you, dude. Super appreciate it. And it's great to have you back in the chat, brother. We definitely missed you here. But folks, listen, Dinero Pinero, the maker of the current intro for the Xbox Factor podcast, good friend of the show, talented as all hell artist, is working on currently a new opening for Xbox One-on-One. Hopefully, we'll get that in the next couple of weeks. He is busy, as the kids like to say, AF, because he is talented. And what he did for this channel, what he has done for Archimedes and several others, proves that he is an incredible talent, and he obviously an amazing artist. So thank you, Dinero. We look forward to seeing that. And of course, I want to thank everybody for the incredible super chats that come in. You power the show and allow Mrs. Boomstick and I to do these big giveaways. And we definitely want to say thank you for that. And of course, again, if you were here and you enjoyed the show, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And folks, listen, this was a great opening show for this new venture. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. Please be safe. Be cautious, wear a mask, don't take chances. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. One day it should be, and hopefully will be important to you. And that's something that my dad said. And he used to say this: son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you on the newest episode of the new show, Xbox One-on-One.